Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your new favorite pop culture podcast where we talk about, we haven't been a podcast in a minute.
Yeah, wow. YouTube channel.
Your new favorite pop culture YouTube channel where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. As always, this is the spoiler show, so you have been warned. On today's episode, it's probably going to be a mini-sode. We're probably just going to talk for a few minutes. But we did want to talk about, we saw The Lost City.
Loretta Sage is missing.
I'm gonna rescue her. I just want her to think of me as more than a cover model.
Let's start living dangerously.
Alan, what are you doing here?
We're here to save you.
Any thoughts going in?
Well, I was super excited about it.
You like showed me this trailer and you were so pumped.
In from minute one.
It just kept getting better too. Because you were in from Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
And then Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
And then Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
And then Brad Pitt.
Yeah. What more do you bitches want? And I didn't even know Patti was in it.
Mm-hmm.
What's her last name?
Patti Harrison.
Patti Harrison, yeah. Wow. And then I just kept seeing stuff for it. I mean, it looks dumb. It looks dumb and silly, but in like the best way. Like I think this is the epitome of the Linda Holmes, like an air conditioning movie where it's like
the recliner seat.
You're just like, I want to go in, get out of I mean, I know it's just like barely April for a lot of people and it's still cold, but like here in Florida, it was 85 degrees today. So it's like I gotta get out of the heat. I don't really care what it is. I'm gonna get the next movie that's showing, and then you end up, it's like your favorite thing that comes out all summer.
Well, so that's kind of the thing for me is that it actually is good.
Yeah.
It got received pretty well. I think it has a 75, and it opened number one, continuing Sandra Bullock's streak as one of the few remaining movie stars in the world, as in movie stars who can like open a movie.
Yeah.
And I liked it. It was very medium stakes.
Yeah.
It feels like a big movie. It seems like it's going to be a big movie, and it does not disappoint. But there were several points throughout the movie where I was like, I just appreciate how human-sized this movie is.
It was great. At no point was I actually worried either of them were going to die. Like,
actually,
were you?
Well, so not genuinely,
okay,
because they're the stars of the movie, but I got tense a handful. I don't know what it is about adventure movies where everyone has to be underwater for about 7 minutes in every adventure movie.
Yeah.
That stresses me out.
Yeah.
But it was like, so we saw Jungle Cruise last year, and we liked it. You actually really liked it. I just medium liked it.
I've watched it a couple of times on Disney Plus.
But this is like that minus all the CGI bloat.
Sure. Yes. I mean, there's not zero CGI and there's not zero green screen in this, but it's like it's utilized the correct amount. Whereas, like you said, the majority of Jungle Cruise is CG.
I would say it could handle a little bit more if it were, because that's another thing is I'm curious if it's going to end up becoming a franchise. Because the way it ends,
I would be obsessed.
It leaves it relatively open-ended in two different places where I want more. I would like a franchise. Yeah, I did like it. It's sort of not reinvention, but a
like a retread.
Revival of the 80s sort of action comedy screwball.
Romancing the Stone. Yeah. Or like the African Queen kind of. Yeah.
She's a novelist who's hit a little bit of a rut. And moving into spoiler stuff, the plot is that she's basically kidnapped by Daniel Radcliffe as Abigail Fairfax.
I forgot already that his name was Abigail.
It's a gender neutral name, like Leslie or Beverly.
And then he mentions that his younger brother's name is Leslie. I can only assume his other brother's name is Beverly.
That's so, like I said, full spoilers. That's so 3 easily places that when they didn't kill him off.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He was probably my favorite part of the movie, and not in that I enjoyed him the most from the movie, but I just love the instinct to cast Daniel Radcliffe in this weird role and to give him, we both really like him. I think you especially like him.
Okay, I hard love Daniel Radcliffe. I've been in it since, the first Harry Potter. I've loved him. The first couple Harry Potters, none of the kids are like amazing actors or whatever, but I think there's something about him specifically, he has short king energy for sure. And then secondly, this instinct he has to have made a bajillion dollars before he turned 18 and then to just do whatever the fuck gonzo shit he feels like.
Just weird.
It pings my heartstring. I think he is just the cutest.
There's not a single thing he could show up in that I wouldn't believe.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Like straight to video,
Yeah.
like just turkey all the way to the highest of prestige. I just totally buy him being in literally anything.
Yeah.
And I think
because he just doesn't care. He's like, I have no stakes in this. It's just whatever.
But he's also good. Like he was
so
funny
good.
in this. And he has this he's attractive in such a weird way. You are, at least for me, I am at war with him the entire movie.
Okay.
Deciding between whether he's like ugly hot or just hot.
No, he's just hot.
But do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like every time he moves just like a quarter of an inch, I'm like, no, it's just hot.
He's just hot.
And it's like, well, and it's like, but
No. Okay, there's a moment where he is screaming at Sandra Bullock. The vein in his forehead goes, all the veins in his neck goes. And I was like, what are we doing?
I don't know. There's something that suits this character. He was the big takeaway for him, and I hate to say this, but it was like him and Brad Pitt, I think, were the...
Okay, because also, I have to reevaluate my entire existence as a lover of Brad Pitt, because for my whole life up until now, I thought he was the hottest he's ever been in Legends of the Fall, and now I'm not so sure anymore.
Do you like the single dread to tie back his hair?
No, there was like everything about the hair, the outfit, the like way he was putting on the gear. I like, woo.
Well, I also love how into him Channing Tatum was too. So I think the jokes were good, but I think they were good. There's a handful of places that I could have stood to have it punched up a little bit. However, that's where it's sort of an action adventure comedy romance.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not just a comedy movie.
It's not just a comedy. And I also think the jokes, you're correct, were just fine or just okay or just good. But I do think the majority of them were elevated by the performances.
Well, because there was one of my favorite bit was in Channing Tatum's phone and Alan's phone. He has Brad Pitt listed as Jack Trainer because he's a trainer. And that's how he organizes his phone. But then later we find out his name actually is Jack Trainer, though.
Because he lists off a couple. He's like, Jack Trainer, X this, Stacy Butt stuff.
I wanted Stacy Butt stuff to come up.
Me too.
So I really wanted, when it smash cuts from them explaining it to the phone, I wanted them to have made him call Stacy Butt stuff. And for her to be like, stop calling me. You know what I mean? And then have them call Jack Trainer. That's what I wanted from that scene. But no, I wanted her to show up. But no, it was just because so Sandra Bullock is great. I have absolutely nothing.
Okay. She is, what did you say? She's 56, which is bonkers to me. She looks fucking incredible. I also love that she is single-handedly giving us 15 years younger love interests consistently, because Ryan Reynolds is much younger than her too. And then also, I love how good she still is at physical comedy. Still, having her still tied at two opposite points to the chair and shoving her into the car. I don't know. So funny.
That was one of probably the second biggest laugh is when he spins out in the car. And she's
so
just
funny.
She's not in the back seat anymore.
And he's like
and he thinks he tossed her out of the car off a cliff, but then it turns out she's just like a couple meters that way. That was really good. But so I love Channing Tatum, and that's surprising. I'm telling you, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you that is surprising because I didn't like him. He's a meathead in the way that I just don't go for. I think that there is absolutely nothing wrong. There's nothing ugly. But there's just something about him that doesn't do anything for me. and then you get to know him.
That's the thing for me, is it's personality based 100% for me.
Well, because now I think he's hot. Like, because they strip him down. They do strip him down in this movie. And that's just, that is not, like, hairless beefcake, like,
he's got a nice
jock
ass, though.
is not my type.
Yeah.
But I almost had to excuse myself. Like, I don't know. There's something about it.
I told you
It's
in the car, he's got big himbo energy.
Yeah, but it just sort of, but it retroactively earns, like,
The meathead part
I
of
don't
it.
know. I think he
did a really smart thing when he found out he was good at comedy. Because the Step Up movies are like, those are middling. We can all agree.
He tried to be an action hero for a hot minute.
and it's like, this kind of action hero is fine, but you can't be like, wasn't he G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, none of that.
Well, because that's actually where I fell in love with him. Was I read there's a GQ profile about him, and apparently there's several GQ profiles that are excellent,
Exceptional, yeah.
and apparently I found out well after the fact that they're all written by the same woman.
Yep.
I'll put a link because I don't remember her name, but I need to. She's a menace. But it really sold because she's the one who pointed out his giggle, that he giggles like a boy, and it did numbers for me. And that's, I was sort of, because I was expecting Screwball from this, and you get almost immediately that he is, I just assumed his character of the male model was going to feel above this, and he's not, to the point where he's like almost too into it.
Okay, yes. And then also, I loved the moment where, in fact, she is the one that's too above it, and he has really accepted the, like, fans. Like, he is doing this because he wants to make the fans happy.
And because there's a scene where he kind of tells her off, where he was like, people love, and he's like, and specifically women love this thing.
Yeah, you should be like, she's also at this point written 20 books. She should have already.
So
like,
when they dropped the plot that the writing was second, that she was like an archaeologist type with her husband, that's when it made more sense to me. Because there was an element of the movie that was like, this is odd, and then I was like, because that's what ends up happening is Daniel Radcliffe kidnaps her to help find this treasure
with like $4,000 worth of charcuterie in an airplane hangar.
And I do love the casualness with which they just start killing people.
Oh yeah, it's immediate.
Because there's a scene in the middle of the movie where Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum have to reckon with manslaughtering two people.
I mean, those people are trying to kill them.
Yeah,
so but they basically are like, I mean, they were wearing helmets. They could be fine. And Channing Tatum's like, well, then you're just ahead.
But it's also, they were like, because they it's in the movie. They specifically had prepared for the like consequences of killing one of them.
Yeah.
But the two of them, they were
the other guy could have moved, for sure.
They were ill-equipped to deal with. There is, so I started to say it to Will, but he actually was like, don't tell me. He's like, because I think I will watch it.
Okay.
But there's a moment that, if this is in fact true, it's probably my favorite thing about the movie. But so they kill off Brad Pitt, which I kind of saw coming when I realized we had seen all of his footage. Yeah. And he like gets shot in the head. His head explodes.
Yeah, he's inside Channing Tatum's mouth.
And so then the movie happens, over, happy ending, and they're at yoga, and Brad Pitt is in the yoga session with them.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it as canon. It doesn't seem like AU. And he basically explains that because you only, and anyone who knows me knows I hate this trope, but this is the best. He's like, well, you only use 10% of your brain. So that's what happened, is they shot that 10% of my brain. So I have to use the other 90% now. Or I think he even says a different 10%. So he's just alive again with a scarf. Like,
love it. Who cares? Love it.
Well, because I love when people play fast and loose with reality that way. So if they were to do another one, presumably we will get him back, and that for me is the right choice. Because
you're right, him and Daniel Radcliffe. The fact that they're both still alive is very important. Because I mean, on the one hand, Daniel Radcliffe could go the way of Sean Bean in National Treasure, where he doesn't come back to the second one, but he is out there in the.
But I would imagine we'll get Beverly and Leslie.
Yeah.
And so that could be fun.
Elijah Wood.
I sort of say they need to be comically.
Oh, too tall?
Yeah. It's a shame. Shame we don't have Armie Hammer anymore.
Oh, yeah. That's a bummer. I think we should also call out Divine Joy Randolph, who played Beth.
She was doing a lot. She was doing a lot. I kind of anticipated that from the friend.
Yeah.
And she wasn't, I think I thought that they were going to give her like really hacky comedy.
She was on that show People of Earth that Will and I loved so hard. She was so funny on that.
I thought they were going to give her really slapsticky, over-the-top comedy, and they really didn't. It was surprisingly grounded, and she was like surprisingly competent.
Yeah, and she was like going above and beyond for Loretta. I mean, it was
the whole thing had a weird little bit of heart that like I think that the big reveal, it was fine. I think it was a little schmoopy with the crown and all that. I was kind of like, okay.
I don't know. I think it's a pretty rich metaphor.
Did you?
I don't know. I loved it. I also really loved that, like all the heart of the like romance came from Channing Tatum, as opposed to
he really had to win her over.
He really did.
Also, I liked Raffi, and I hope if there were to be another one that he will come back.
Well,
because I watched it happen. I was like, he intentionally left the crowbar for
100%,
them.
Yeah.
So I was like, I actually, and that's the thing is, it's like. I know that largely, you know, big franchises and sequels and extended universes and blah, blah, blah. I know that it's largely just like a cash grab. And so in that regard, I don't feel like everything I see has to be that. But I feel like this gave us really, really solid pieces.
Yeah.
Like the pawns were really solid. And the film's very medium grip on reality. It leaves the doors open for more in a way.
I don't know anything about like budget for this movie or anything like that.
It couldn't have been over 100.
But this feels like one of those kind
Mid-tier.
of medium movies that we talk about loving all the time, where it's just like, it can't have been that expensive. I feel like paying Brad Pitt and Sandra Bullock were the most expensive part of making this movie. And I just think you can keep
but they're also
doing it.
Like Brad's also at a place where I think he would, like, he's got money. I think he would do what he wants.
Do it for like $1 million.
He wants to.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we should have more. I think this should be a franchise. I would be obsessed if this was a franchise.
65 to 75 million.
Fuck off. It's already almost made its money back then. Yeah. I mean, more movies like this. And I know that, like, especially because of COVID and like stuff that's happening and like the studio system is like kind of falling apart and that this isn't really the kind of stuff that gets made anymore. But like, make more movies like this. It was so fun. I had a good time. I liked it.
And it was like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So
not bad.
Okay, well that was our, I guess, mini review. That was our condensed review. That was our conversation about The Lost City.
All right, well, you can follow us on Twitter at soimwatching or Instagram at soimwatching this show. We also have a website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything. And other than that, just like and subscribe and tell your friends all about us. And if you feel like it, throw us a couple bucks.
We're trying to make money and we're trying to get subscribers so that we can make money.
Do it.